Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, most Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Alright, well, AP, how am I supposed to prepare if I live paycheck to paycheck? And that's what I want to talk about today. Because it seems that a lot of people get frustrated, get disincentivized, I guess you can call it, for a lack of better word. Or they just don't want to prepare because they can't get the fancy stuff. And what do I mean by the fancy stuff? Stuff that they consider fancy because it's not within their budget. That, ladies and gentlemen, could not be farther from the truth. I want to talk with you today about how important it is for you to prepare. If you see the video that I just posted earlier today, I'm talking about how food that hasn't hit the shelves yet this year, and that's intended to hit the shelves for next year, are already being priced in at a 25% higher price than what we are paying now. So even with all of the inflation that we faced over the last couple of years, food for next year, you can see foods, I'm not saying all foods, but you will see foods going up in price another 25%. I would say if not 50% to 100% more by the time that the year is over. I personally believe that we're not going to have as good as a harvest or as good of a harvest as we've been led to believe this year. And I even saw a report, I believe it was on Adapt 2030 with Mr. David Dubine, where he states that the carryover numbers that the USDA reported earlier this year were not accurate because a lot of the bins that are out there are not full. But I digress. I want to encourage you to prepare no matter what your socioeconomic status is. Why? Because we're all human beings. We all need to eat. We all need to drink. And that is just a fact. And without those basic biological needs being met, we do things that we otherwise would never have thought of doing. I listened to a video here. I think it was either a video or an article. I do a lot of reading articles, and I really don't like to read, but I read because if you don't like to do something and it's something that's productive, you should do it anyways in order for you to get better at it. I know, here goes AP with his stories. I used to hate math. I used to hate math, and I used to hate running. So what did I do? When I was in high school, I used to hate math. I delved myself into mathematics. And now I love math. I love numbers. I'm not that great at it, but I still love it. I love learning it. And back before I even joined the military, I used to hate running. I used to hate long distance running. So what did I do? I ran. I ran every day. Ran. Till where there came a day where I missed it. If I didn't do it, I had to do it because I loved it. I can't do it anymore, and I miss it today. But I think you get the drift. You do those things that maybe are uncomfortable to you, and then you grow. But let's get back to preparedness. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you, let's talk about food. Right? Let's talk about food. Look, I even got a couple of samples here. Look, to be prepared, you don't need this. You don't need this. Do I promote this? I do, because I love this food. I think it is the best freeze-dried food there is in the market just because of the nutrition, but you don't have to get this to be prepared. And if you do get freeze-dried foods, guess what? You can get stuff like this. Do I recommend this? I don't, personally. This is a little sample that I got in the mail that they just sent to me out of nowhere. But no, do I recommend this? I really don't, but in a way I do. Because if it is what you want to get, and you know you're going to eat it and consume it if you ever need to or when the time arises, then get it. It's not about price. When I started preparing, this is how I started preparing. Actually, I started preparing in a way that's even more archaic than this. And I call it archaic because it's very simple. Look, this is how I started preparing. Look, ladies and gentlemen. There's about 50 cents worth of macaroni in a $1 jar. The jar is worth more than the macaroni. But guess what? The macaroni in here has about 1,600 calories. You can do the same thing with rice, with beans. When I started prepping, of course, I made a mistake when I first started. I bought some freeze-dried foods and I forget the name of the company. It's a really old company. I'm not even sure if they're still around. But I bought some freeze-dried foods, and I didn't even taste that food till years later. And thank goodness it was still good. But then I wisened up. I was like, I have to put away the stuff that I eat first. And when I started, it wasn't even with these jars. It was with 2-liter bottles. You don't need a lot of money to prepare. Go get yourself some 2-liter soda bottles or some food grade, let's say, juice bottles, like from apple juice. Those are actually better, in my opinion, because they're thicker and they're food grade. And don't make excuses. AP, I don't drink soda. AP, I don't drink juices. I just drink water and that's it. Do you have friends that drink soda? Do you have friends that drink juices? Do they keep their bottles or throw them away? All right, ladies and gentlemen, think outside the box. You can do this. It's very easy. I've got several videos where I show you how I put these away like this using an oxygen absorber. I'm not sure if you can see it in there, but I got videos showing you how I put stuff. And look at this. It does keep a seal. Look, I'm not going to hold it tight because the seal is not as hard as if you vacuum seal it, but it does have a seal. So it does keep the product in there fresh for a lot longer than if you didn't do this. But my point is this. There's always a way to prepare. I live, or not I, but my family and I, we live off of our pantry. We live off of the stuff that I've put in our pantry for the last several years. It's slow and steady. I didn't do all of this in one day or 1 week or even 1 year. It took years for us to build it up. We did it slow and steady, but we did it with things that we normally eat. Yes, you can see that up there are some, number 10 cans of long-term food storage, and I just grabbed those years after I started prepping. All right, those were not the first things that I got. The pantry stuff, the stuff that we normally eat, those are the things that we got first. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but if you look at my last pantry video, where I showed off this pantry, you can see that not everything is in the same place as it was in my last pantry video. Why? Because we rotate our stuff. We go through our things. So that is how you can start preparing your food. You don't have to get the most expensive stuff. If you have a full pantry of a year or more worth of food, go ahead. And you want to get foods that you can just put in a corner somewhere and wait 10 or 15 years before you have to use it and keep it for an emergency. It's what I like to call deep freeze. All right. It's when I put stuff in deep freeze, meaning that I'm not going to look at it unless I really need to get into it. It just happens to be that I eat nutrient survival pretty much every day. All right. But nonetheless, you don't need to have a lot of money. You don't need to get the fancy stuff. You don't need to mimic other preppers when they show you things on their channels. When I show you what I'm doing on my channels, it's not so that you can do the exact same thing. It's so that it can give you ideas. Because we are all different, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I cannot expect for you to put away the same things that I put away. Right? You have to put away those things that you consume first and foremost, you and your family. I'm just going to say you, but when I say you, I mean you and your family and whoever you're preparing for. Some people are just preparing for themselves. But don't get discouraged just because you don't have the funds to go out there and get the fancy stuff, the things that are maybe above your income level, because there's nothing wrong with that. As I stated previously, we are all different. We are all in different parts of our lives. But I want to give you some ideas as to some things that you can get and how useful they still are, even though they don't cost a lot. I mean, I have a great example here. This is a zero tolerance knife, right? It's an awesome knife, beautiful knife. I love this knife. I got this knife for Christmas, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 Christmases ago. It was the very first Christmas that we moved into our home here. I got this knife. And I love this knife. It is a very high quality knife, made in the USA. Look at that. It's just an awesome knife. But you don't have to have this. And I mean, this knife today costs like $250. And it just goes to show you that inflation is not going away. When this knife was purchased for me for Christmas, I asked for it, so I already knew how much it cost. You know how things work, ladies and gentlemen, with adults especially. This was like $70. This was like $70 when I got this for Christmas. Today is about $250. But you don't have to have this, is the point. You don't have to have this. Look, this is my everyday carry. This little knife is my everyday carry. Nothing wrong with it. It's got a little fuzz down here. Oh, that was from me cutting a box yesterday. This is my everyday carry. It was $25, I think, $29. But you don't even have to have something that's $29. At the very worst case scenario, guess what? Do you have kitchen knives? You can use a kitchen knife. You can make a sheath for a kitchen knife yourself, out of plastic or out of whatever. It's not about having things that you buy all the time. There are some things that you can make for yourself. There are some things that you can modify, that you can actually use in a survival situation with things that you already have. You can make a sheath for a kitchen knife. If that's all you have, you can make a sheath for one out of plastic and duct tape. Imagine that. I walked around for years while I was still getting out of debt. I walked around for years with a wallet that I made myself out of duct tape. Right? I got a couple of those little sleeves that you get at banks that you can put credit cards in so that you can't read the chip if somebody's scanning and stuff. I got like 2 or 3 of those. And then I went ahead and I put my ID and my credit cards in it and everything. And then I used duct tape to reinforce it. I carried that around for years. Well, ladies and gentlemen, being debt-free is a beautiful thing. I don't have to carry that wallet around anymore. It finally started getting tore apart, right? And I asked for a wallet for Christmas. And I got a really nice wallet. I love this wallet. It's not really expensive. It's like $20, $30. But I asked for one for Christmas. And this one, and the one that I got for Christmas, Victor gave it to me. Actually for Father's Day, not Christmas. Victor gave it to me for Father's Day. And it ended up breaking because I use it all the time. So I went ahead and replaced it with this one. But my point is this. My point is that wallet that I made out of duct tape that I carried around for like 5 years or so, that wallet still did what a wallet is supposed to do. And I didn't care what anyone said about it. Right? Some people saw my wallet and they're like, is that duct tape? I'm like, yeah, it's made out of duct tape. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That wallet allowed me to take that $30 I would have spent on a real wallet that I bought and put it towards my debt. And now that I did that years ago, not only that, but you know what I mean, that I lived that lifestyle years ago, now I can buy the wallet that I want. But I'm getting off point here. My point is this, is that you can prepare no matter how much money you make or no matter how little money you make. Obviously, if you make a lot of money, you can go out there today and get 5 years worth of food if you want. But most people in the United States of America, and I would say most people in the world, are not in that position. So prepare what it is that you can with what you have. I never try to be one-sided. All right? I never try to be one-sided on this platform with you, with my community members. I try to show you things that are a little bit better. I try to show you things that are affordable, but that still do the same thing. I'm actually waiting on a few flashlights that I've ordered so I can go with you through the range of flashlights as far as how much they cost and their quality, how much can they illuminate and all that kind of stuff. So that you can have a choice, so that you can say, oh wow, look at that. I can spend $20 on this flashlight and it's just about as good as the one that I could spend $60 on. I might as well just get 3 of these instead of 1 of those. Or, man, I'll just get 1 of these because I can't afford that one. It's all about having options, and the options are out there for you. The thing is that these options are going to start going away more and more as time goes on. Because inflation, as I've stated several times, is the song that never ends. Right? You remember that song they used to sing in the bus when you were going somewhere as a kid?
This is the song that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friend. Blah, blah, blah. Right?
That's what inflation is. And it really is. You think things are going to get better next year than they are now? We will see a period of respite with inflation, just like we have here in the last couple of months with gas prices. But then you will see that it starts going back up and it will go out of control. So make sure that you prepare now. If you don't have, look at this. I got a couple examples because I want to show you. This is a Jetboil. Great camping stove. I use a Jetboil every single day to heat my water for my coffee, and so does my wife. Why do we use Jetboil? Because it is so convenient, number one, and it's so efficient. I mean, it heats that water up so fast, and in my opinion, a lot more efficient than putting some water on a stove and heating it up. So I use a Jetboil, but guess what? This is like $90 for this Jetboil. You don't have to get a Jetboil. If you need something in order to cook food, to heat water and things like that, you don't have to spend $90 on a Jetboil. Look. This is like 11 or 12 bucks. It comes with an automatic starter, right? You can put it on a butane canister, and if you get an adapter for it, you can actually put it on a propane canister or cylinder, you know, the 1 pound ones. And this will heat water. It will heat food. In my opinion, it is not of the quality of a jet boil. But ladies and gentlemen, it will do the job. It will do the job. So instead of spending $90 or $100 on a brand item, maybe you can spend 25 or 30 on 2 of these. What I'm trying to tell you is that you don't have to get all the fancy stuff that you see out there. Do those fancy things that you see out there, do they bring value to your life? Or would they bring value to your life, like during a crisis? I think that the better quality your gear is and the things that you get is, like, for example, this has a little bit of protein. Actually, pasta has a good amount of protein. It has carbohydrates, very small amount of fat, right? This is why I get this stuff. Look at all the nutrients. This has pretty much all the nutrients that you need in a day, so that your body can strive instead of just survive. In the end, calories are king. But like I said, you don't have to get things that are out of your price range. You don't have to try to save up for those things, and then instead of getting other stuff that you can already have there in place, make sure that you get all of the things that you need. For example, what I'm trying to get at is this. I would never recommend anyone to go out there and get a solar generator before their pantry was full. I would never recommend to anyone to go out there and get a solar generator before they had a gasoline generator. Do I like solar generators? I love them. They're awesome. All right? You all know how much I love the Opus. It's a great solar generator, but I would never say, you should get one of these now. But AP, my pantry's not full. But get it anyways. Get it now. Use my link. No, ladies and gentlemen, that's not what it's about. It's about you getting ready at your pace, at the pace that is good for you. It's about you making sure that you have those basic things, those things that I like to call biologicals, those things that preserve life, that keep you alive. Water, okay? Food, shelter, heat, self-defense, medication. Get all of those things first. Get those things that you use first. Once you're prepared in a way that you can sustain your standard of living just like you live today, eating the things that you eat today, using the things that you use today, if you want to venture off into getting some of those peripherals or some of those items that are, in my opinion, luxuries, right? Luxuries, because they do the same stuff that the stuff that you have now do, but they're just better quality and they're just better made and they'll last longer and maybe easier to use. Then you can venture out into getting some of those things as well. So I don't want you, ladies and gentlemen, to be discouraged from preparing because you can't go out there and spend $250 on a knife, or spend $50 on a bag of freeze-dried food, or spend $2,000 on a freeze dryer. I think a freeze dryer is an awesome machine, but do you need one in order to prepare? No, you do not. Please understand that. Don't get it into your mind that you need to have a lot of money to prepare. It's very important to me that we get prepared, because the better that you are prepared, the more that you can conserve and preserve your humanity. I'm not sure if you saw the video that I put up. I think it was yesterday morning, of what some of the people in France are doing. Just because they're having the fuel rationed, they turn into doing things that they normally wouldn't do. How in the world would a person spit on another person just because they're having a disagreement? How in the world would a person take another person's life just because they cut in front of line? See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what people do. This is what they do when they get desperate. And one of the points of being prepared is that you don't get desperate, that you don't lose control over your emotions, because you already have those things that you need. A lot of people ask me, what kind of a weather radio would you recommend or do you have? that's not very expensive. I have one that I have in deep freeze. All right, that's a very nice weather radio. It's actually a Red Cross weather radio, and it wasn't that much. It was about 40-50 bucks, but that was a few years back. So I went ahead and picked this one up, and I tested it out. You know, it's not enough to really do a video about. I don't even know if I ended up putting it in my Amazon storefront or not. But this little guy right here, it was less than 30 bucks. You see, you can get something like this. You don't have to get a $200 weather radio. This thing here has a weather channel on it. It even has a channel on it here for Alaska where people that live in the bush, they get messages from a radio station that's dedicated to people that are out in the bush, being able to tell the radio station, hey, I made it safe, can you please let my family know? And then the people in the radio station will actually say, Joe Schmo, you know, I'm trying to get a name here, Joe Schmo made it to his destination, to this family, to the Schmo family, so he made it safe. It even has that, but it, you know, it has a nice little flashlight. You know, I'm not gonna go ahead and put it on the camera, but it's got a nice little flashlight. I mean, this is a flashlight. It has a little solar panel that will charge it. It's not great, but it will work, right? And it also has a nice little sturdy crank. It's not about getting the best of everything. Whoa! And it also has an alarm that I pressed by mistake right here. Oh, goodness, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that I've made my point. I really hope that I've made my point. You don't need to get all of these fancy things. If you have the money, and you're in a time in your life where you can afford to get better equipment, by all means, get it, because it will make your life easier. A good example that I have, and I haven't reviewed this yet, and I probably won't review it till next year, is one of those little washing machine that has a little spin cycle dryer on the side. It doesn't actually dry your clothes, but it spins all the water out of it. And Billy and Dee from Frontier Preppers, they introduced me to that. I purchased one to have on the side. But do you have to have that? Do you have to buy one of those? No. Do you have a bucket? Do you have some soap? Can you wash clothes? Can you get a rock? You can do that as well. And that will clean your clothes just as well, ladies and gentlemen. The point that I'm trying to make here is don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged when you see a channel review this or that. And I'm not making this video because someone said something, right? I've seen some comments in other channels, you know, saying, well, I can't afford this, I can afford that. You do not need to have the highest quality gear that there is available in order for you to make it through a crisis. That's not what preparedness is about. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you just have to have the things that you need. If you can afford to get that extra stuff that will make your life a little easier, go ahead and get it. But those extra things, this right here, this here is not going to allow me to survive any better than this right here. I would argue that you can use this for self-defense just as much as you can use this. All right? And this can cut tape off of a box just as well as this can. Trust me, I've already tried it. The self-defense part, no. But the cutting the tape out of a box, yes. And that's what most people use their ADC anyways, is to cut cordage here and there, to cut a box open or whatever. But I'm going to leave it at that. I just want to encourage you to prepare. Why? Because we will need our preps. At the very minimum, prepare for economic reasons. Why? Because next year, the price of things, everything, not just food, the price of everything is going to continue to go up. I'm not sure if you heard that. I believe in Europe, they had to shut down an aluminum smelter because they couldn't afford the price of fuel. Now, what's going on over there with that war, who knows how long it's gonna last. But I have a feeling that it's going to last a very long time, right? The reason I feel it's going to last a very long time is because central banks need wars in order to print more money, in order to keep the system that they've created to enriching themselves and their buddies, keep it going even longer at the expense of you and me, the average people that work for a wage or a salary. Having said that, let me go ahead and cut it off right here. I've already made this probably way too long. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and I hope that you get prepared. If you're not preparing, you don't need to be rich. You can go out, take a look at some of my payday prep videos, my earlier ones. I show you how you can prep on the cheap. It's not as cheap now as back then when I first started doing payday preps, but it's a lot cheaper today than what it's going to be in a year, in 2, 3, or 4. because like I said, inflation is the song that never ends. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, to every one of you for all of your support, for your patronage here, being a community member of the Alaska Prepper channel. You are part of our community. It is a we thing here, and I do appreciate every one of you. All right, so tomorrow we're going to have a live stream. I'm not sure how it's going to go because it's getting pretty nippy outside and I can no longer really open my window, but we'll see what the temperature is like and see if I can get a good hot spot with the window closed, but we'll see anyways. But join in tomorrow at 2 p.m. Alaska time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern time. And I would like to say that we have a good time during our live stream. So I hope to see you there. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to every one of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out. God bless you all.